Beautiful moments. From all of us in Morrison Communications Limited, Wish 99.5 FM and Atlantic Television Network, we wish you a Merry Christmas full of amazing experiences. Cheers to a beautiful year end.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert.
Steering committee to inspect the facility congratulated the Nigerian administration is determined to complete the road that has lingered on for 20 years as a commitment to bequeath lasting projects that will serve the needs of the people for years to come. Responding to Mr. Deacon Karkik, a youth leader who appealed to the governor to consider the construction of Andoni's internal roads, including that of Oyorokoto town, Governor Fubara sued for patience, assuring that his administration will consider the internal roads in Andoni once the Andoni section of the Ogoni or Andoni-Opobo Unity Road has been completed, and Oyoro attempt to go contrary, he would charge Ehie to court for contempt. Calabar-based lawyer Justice Osai Ahiakwa is urging the Independent National Electoral Commission to conduct another election for the 27 vacant seats in the River State House of Assembly following the defection of the lawmakers from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress over a week ago. He said the interested party should initiate the proceedings of applying to the electoral body to set a date for fresh election in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution and electoral laws, and commended President Bola Ahmed Tinubu over his intention to resolve the river's crisis as merely applying the Alternative Dispute Resolution (ADR) mechanisms in persuading the gladiators to sheath their swords. He said the president took a bold step to mitigate the already heated political atmosphere in River State and advised the gladiators to withdraw all pending cases in court of law, saying once this is done, nothing can keep alive the contending issues before the court of law. Former Secretary to the Lagos State Government and the Minister of the Federal and thoroughly examined the provisions of the bill from the title to the last clause and schedule of the bill. Ayafulu also said that the committee interacted with the private and public sectors to get input on the bill and would provide a legal framework for the establishment of a social investment committee designed to provide social security as well as to help alleviate poverty in the state. The majority leader, Mr. Emeka Nwaobi, moved for the suspension of Orders 12, Rules 82 and 83 of the House to enable it to take the third reading and pass the bill, while Matthew Omonade seconded the motion, which was unanimously adopted when put to a voice vote by the Speaker, Mr. Dennis Guo, said that the bill would go a long way in alleviating poverty in the state. Police has arrested the commander of the indigenous people of Biafra's armed affiliates, the Eastern Security Network, Ikechukwu Uba of Emoham BD in Ori. Operatives of the command's anti-kidnapping squad led by CSP Oladimeji Odeyiwa stormed the hideout of the suspects and arrested him and 3 others, and the suspects provided useful information to the determined operatives that led to the arrest of one of their alleged sponsors, HRHAZ Anozie Augustine Agbarambo, and the traditional ruler of Isi Mbidi Emoha Mbidi Autonomous Community. 2 locally made revolver long guns, 1 double-barrel long gun, and 33 rounds of live cartridges were recovered from his house during an intense search, and the suspects will be arraigned in court upon completion of a diligent investigation. Commissioner of Police, Imo State CP Aboki Danjuma, while appreciating the gallant operatives for sustained efforts in achieving this operational feat, charged them to sustain the tempo in the fight against all forms of crime and criminality in the state, while assuring the good people of Imo State that the command has placed enhanced proactive security strategies that will ensure the entire length and breadth of the state is adequately policed during and after the Yuletide season. Erosion has ravaged several buildings, structures, and roads destroyed, while over 100,000 persons have been displaced ravaged by the disaster is the Onitsha-Owerri Road, which has become a nightmare to road. Will be produced and forwarded to Governor Ademola Jackson Nuruddin Adeleke for his assent. President Bola Tinubu has arrived Lagos of Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos at 3:55 p.m. President Tinubu, who was received at the airport by Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, members of his cabinet, and a crowd of supporters boarded a chopper to Jordan Barracks in Ikoyi. He would join the Christian faithful to mark the Christmas celebration in Lagos State. Lagos State Governor Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu has assured artisans and tradesmen in the state of his administration's commitment to scale up funding for the sector. The governor, who was represented by the Commissioner for Establishment and Training, Mr. Folabi Ayantayo, said his administration had put in place a series of empowerment programs to prepare artisans in the state to think global and provide local solutions, adding that his government would continue to develop innovative solutions that address the challenges of the sector and create the enabling environment for improved productivity. Lagos State Government has commenced the sales of forms for the 2020. The Lagos State Government said the suspension of the Holy Pilgrimage to Israel and Jordan by both the Lagos State Government and Nigerian Christian Pilgrim Commission in October was due to the security situation in Israel that had claimed several lives. The statement also said the Executive Secretary of Lagos State Christian Pilgrims Welfare Board, Mrs. Yetunde Florence Bafe, and the suspension of the pilgrimage exercise then was in line with the state's government's decision to airlift intending pilgrims to places where their safety and security would be guaranteed. She also said the state government will be responsible for the ticket, visa, accommodation, feeding, and welfare materials, amongst others, for the intending pilgrims upon payment of the required pilgrimage fee. Nasarawa State House of Assembly has passed the 2024 appropriation bill totaling 199.9 billion naira as presented by Governor Abdullahi Sule. Speaker of well over 82 billion naira is earmarked for capital expenditure. The Speaker commended the bill into law and called for collaboration between the legislative, executive, and judicial arms of government as a positive indicator of unity and synergy. Chairman Alhaji Nasiru Adamu said the executive bill underwent thorough scrutiny, resulting in 28 recommendations. Adamu also stressed the need for a new section regarding the service number of officers and the correction of typographical, technical, and drafting errors by the Legal Service Department. Registrar of the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, Professor Olayede, said that the extra money being paid by candidates are charged by operators of computer-based test centers to assuage the high cost of diesel. He said JAMB only facilitated the process of collecting the payment so that candidates to 1,500. While stating that the interface with the examination body was not a witch hunt, that it was an effort to improve the education of women. Military says in the last 5 months it has destroyed 636 illegal refining sites and intercepted 21.7 million liters of crude June, and gave them a marching order to end oil theft in the country in order to shore up the country's revenues, and this development has attracted a heightened military onslaught against oil thieves, particularly in the South-South. The security expert Oladele Fajana urged the military not to rest on their laurels, adding that the activities of oil thieves had seriously impacted on the economy of the country negatively. Defense Headquarters says the Nigerian military has in the last 2 weeks killed over 40 terrorists, arrested 191 and rescued 80 kidnapped victims, while 68 oil theft for Boko Haram and Iswap enclaves in Gwoza local government area of Borno State, where troops arrested terrorist collaborators in Gujba local government area of Yobe State. Liters of illegally refined AGO and 10,800 liters of PMS and other recovered items.
Troops of Operation Udoka, Enugu State, and recovered arms. This operation was conducted on the 13th and the 14th of December, where troops collaborating in the area of Enugu State. During the operation, troops arrested 4 suspects, recovered 1 AK-47 rifle, 1 pump-action gun, among other.
Fabemi says President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is out. The AGF also said that Tinubu's government's plan to free Nigeria from the grips of corruption, adding that the EFCC was pivotal to the actualization of the dream, stressing that the EFCC is pivotal in Tinubu's administration's plan to remove impediments to accountability in governance institutions and strengthen mechanisms and platforms by which Nigerians can hold public office to account.
Without causing undue inflation. The establishment of an infrastructure support fund for states to invest in critical areas that will create an enabling environment for businesses to households across the 36 states and the FCC to moderate prices and 225 metric tons of fertilizer, seedlings, and other inputs to Nigerian farmers.
He said federal government is working on the new minimum wage to ensure food security in Nigeria.
The federal government is also working on a new minimum wage for workers, which will come into effect next year. This, of course, is part of the ongoing dialogue with the organized labor. Agriculture and food security. In a bid to ensure efficiency and tackle the increase in food prices in the country, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has declared a state of emergency. Prime Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development to the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. The declaration of emergency on food security was a pressing issue that directly affects the well-being of Nigerian citizens, of our agricultural sector, and consequently threatened our nation's food supply. President Tinubu, with foresight and determination, aims to fortify our food production system, ensuring that no citizen goes without this basic necessity. This measure signifies a call to action for comprehensive reforms, innovative strategies, and collaborative efforts among various stakeholders. President Tinubu is mobilizing resources and implementing policies that will not only address immediate concerns, but also establish a resilient and sustainable.
The minister extended the message of hope and optimism, encouraging Nigerians to hope more in Tinubu's reformation.
Stand at the threshold of a new year. I wish to extend a message of hope and optimism to fellow Nigerians. The President, of course, has initiated a number of reforms across various sectors of our economy and is beginning to blossom. These reforms are not miracles, but they are deliberate steps towards building a stronger and more prosperous Nigeria. As we look ahead, let us embrace the spirit of hope and resilience. Change takes time, but every step that we take towards it is a testament. This is the big one that was unveiled only yesterday. In order to cushion the effect of the high cost of transportation fares, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and of course the federal government of Nigeria is targeting to lift 5 million commuters during this unitary season with 50% transportation rebate. In addition, all train services are free from today for all Nigerians traveling across this country where such services exist. Of course,
the EFCC said the Tinubu administration's plan to remove impediments to accountability in governing institutions and strengthening mechanisms and platforms by which Nigerians can hold public officers to account. He also said the recovery and repatriation of Nigeria's stolen wealth was an issue of great concern to the administration, stressing that the EFCC is expected to continue to lead the charge to trace, recover, and facilitate the return of our stolen wealth. You are watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We will be back after this break.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
It's Christmas season! Hooray! A time to make merry with loved ones, a time to give thanks, and a time to be a blessing. May your holiday season be filled with joy, laughter, and beautiful moments. From all of us in Morrison Communications Limited, Wish 99.5 FM and Atlantic Television Network, we wish you a Merry Christmas full of amazing experiences. Cheers to a beautiful year end.
Welcome back. This is the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. Now to the rest of our stories. Senate has confirmed the appointment of 11 Supreme Court justices appointed by President Bola Tinubu to fill the vacancies on the Apex Court bench. The confirmation was sequel to the consideration of a report by the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters at the plenary. The chairman of the committee, Senator Mohammed Monguno, while presenting the panel report, said the nomination and appointment satisfy the constitutional provision of Section 231, which states that an individual needs 15 years' experience on the bar to be qualified for the Supreme Court justice.
The committee, after the screening exercise, deliberated on the nominees' suitability for appointments as justices of the Supreme Court of Nigeria and hereby make the following findings. That the appointment of the nominees satisfy the requirements of the provisions of Section 231, subsection 2 and subsection 3 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. That there is no criminal record or adverse report found against the nominees, as record checks and other forms of investigation by relevant security agencies did not reveal any negative trace against them. That there is no petition against the appointments of the nominees. That the nominees possess the requisite leadership qualities required of judicial officers to exercise restraint and uphold the dignity of the court and the litigants in the discharge of their official functions.
Speaking on the committee reports before the confirmation, some lawmakers expressed concern over the delay in appointment of justices for the Supreme Court bench, while commending President Tinubu for reflecting federal character in the appointments.
And should also perhaps pass it to the executive, which is the appointing authority, that here we are screening 11 justices for the Supreme Court at the same time. Very commendable act the president has done, but we shouldn't be doing this at this time. For so long these vacancies have existed. They could have been filled long before now. We had a situation where areas in this country were left without representation, leading to discussions and accusations about perceived marginalization. Even the perception of it was not good, especially representation at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court being the ultimate court in this country and structured in a way that has representation from all parts of this country is important, Mr. President. While looking at this nomination, that we should also pass that message that anytime these vacancies occur, they should be filled promptly. There are fitting, very qualified people from all parts of this country to fill those vacancies, either at the federal.
House of Representatives says it has concluded arrangements to steer the country towards unprecedented advancements in science, engineering, and technological innovation. He asked the agencies to steadily support scientific research towards economic growth of the nation and encourage the country.
Which is to us a very low budget, considering the role the media and information ministry are to play in this country, and don't think that that budget can go anywhere in getting them to be able to reach all the needs and plannings of this country, which we expect them to get to. Most especially the National Orientation Agency that needed to be dissemination. And you know, all of us can see what is happening in the country today. A lot of fake news are flying everywhere, which we needed an agency that is responsible for that to be able to be communicating the real information to the people.
Joint Committee on Petroleum and Gas in the National Assembly have frowned at discrepancies in the 2024 budget of the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources. The lawmakers raised issues with the annual budget of the Federal Ministry when the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Senator Hennekin Lukobiri, and Minister of State Gas Resources, Ekpo, presented over 9.6 billion naira budget at the National Assembly. The Senate Committee Chairman on Gas Resources, Senator Jarigbe Agom, said, and the House Committee Chairman on Petroleum Upstream, Honorable Al-Hassan Ado Doguwa, in their remarks, said that the budget is neither here nor there for the oil and gas sector.
The Steering Committee on the Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative has also refused to brief the National Assembly on the activities and programs they are carrying out. The activities are shrouded in secrecy, and the Ministers of State, Petroleum Resources, Oil and Gas are totally in the dark as to the activities of the Presidential CNG Initiative. In trying to get self-help, the Presidential CNG Initiative has embarked on a fundraiser which comes up tomorrow in order to extort funds from so-called stakeholders. As a parliament, we do not align ourselves with running government programs in disregard of the provisions of the law. We cannot achieve what Mr. President wants without providing for the CNG project and other very important projects in the Appropriations Act. Doing so will only open a window of fraud which will impact negatively on the citizenry. Let it be on record that the steering committee of the PCNGI cannot account for the funds already.
Earlier, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Senator Henneke Lokobiri, and his state counterparts for gas resources, Mr. Ekpo, presented the 2023 budget performance and the 2024 budget estimates of the ministry before to the Joint Committee. Lokobiri disclosed that a total of 9,641,154,813 naira is the total budget for the main ministry and its agencies for the 2024 fiscal year. Meanwhile, the House Committee on Information has lamented low budgetary allocation to the Ministry of Information, calling for the upward review of the 2024 capital allocation of the ministry as a way of addressing major challenges in the sector. Chairman of the committee, Honorable Lusola Fatoba, who made the call while briefing the members of the House press corps on budget defense exercises of the committee, said ranging from obsolete equipment in offices and dilapidated infrastructures, there is need for more allocation of money in the National Orientation Agency to address the vices youth engage in today. House of Representatives has endorsed a bill for an act to provide the enactment of child online access, protection, and other violence against children law. Olumide Osoba, representing APC in Ogun State, who sponsored the bill, stated in his presentation that he was deeply worried about the safety of Nigerian children in the digital age, adding that in the face of technological advancement, children encounter unprecedented risk online. According to him, raising children in the era of the internet has become an enduring task, stressing that the threat of violence has increased, affecting children physically, sexually, and psychologically. And now to business news. Federal government, through the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, has begun talks with the United Nations Industrial Development Organization to set up a formal academy to train and equip small business operators with the requisite knowledge to help their day-to-day activities and deepen their contributions to the country's economic growth. The ministry said the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria and UNIDO will help develop the framework for the academy and design the implementation plan to kickstart the project, while the idea mooted by the Minister for Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Doris Uzoka-Anite, at a meeting with the UNIDO delegation led by Jane Bakole, said it is designed to develop the operators in the sector through several strategies that will upgrade their production skill and access to credit, as well as help them with links to the market and deepen their capabilities to service the big industries. The federal government also said that idea was prompted by the high rate of collapse of small businesses that lack the requisite knowledge to survive Nigeria's market realities, while the SME DAN Director General G. Charles Odi says the country has lost over 3 million businesses in 3 months to insecurity, fraud, global competitiveness, and lack of ease of doing business. Federal Inland Revenue Service has launched its site of the Art Contact Center to render exceptional service to taxpayers seeking for assistance, providing answers to questions and complaints with the use of English and the major Nigerian languages. The Acting Director, Department of VAT, Federal Inland Revenue Service, Dr. Adebayo Adefeyegbe, disclosed this in Abuja.
Of taxations because of they are not being well organized. The federal government has come up with Matan and JTB that now we have an approach, a very simple approach for you. Especially we are talking about those who are doing haulage from one location to the other, you will find yourself having to pay all forms of levies and taxes, at times up to 20 or 15 of such. Now, once you join MATAN under VDI with FRS and Joint Tax Board, just one single tax. Everybody say single tax. Single tax.
The head of technical service of Joint Tax Board, Agbe Adro, gave updates on coordinating the subnational VAT direct initiatives.
It is especially heartwarming to note that this event is coming on the heels of the VAT Direct Stakeholders Engagement Program, which held in Lagos on Wednesday, the 21st of June, 2023, in Lagos. As great efforts are being made to re-engineer and improve the tax collection process through automation and introduction of novel initiatives, it is imperative that the process of collecting taxes is at its most efficient at all times. It is in light of the foregoing that partnering with critical stakeholders towards achieving this becomes imperative to ensure that the tax-paying citizens and indeed the general public are adequately informed on the rollout of this program, which holds reasonable significance towards ensuring that citizens comply with their tax-paying obligations and responsibilities. The collaboration with the Market Traders Association of Nigeria, MATAN, on the VAT Direct Initiative is one of the steps in this regard. It may interest us to note that the International Monetary Fund estimates that Nigeria's informal economy accounts for about 65% of GDP. However, country tax revenue trends at the subnational level over the previous 5-year period of 2017 to 2021 shows that the informal sector contributes an average of 3.2% to total tax revenue. As we proceed along, we can only wish MATAN and the FRS success, as the success of this initiative will in its own way enable the attainment of the projected country tax to GDP ratio of 18%.
While a representative of the Association of Local Government of Nigeria has this to say.
Base of operation, because a lot of the informal activities happen at the local government level. And like has been said by some of my colleagues from the Joint Tax Board and the Federal Inland Revenue Services, the director, a lot of the revenue that are supposed to come in through that informal sector is a very wide gap. We hope to achieve all together, and because of the magnanimity of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in the presence of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we also want to give you simultaneously the benefits that should accrue to every revenue that we generated from the informal sector. MATAN, the Market Traders Association of Nigeria, is a bottom-top approach association. If you have not heard that before, from day one, we have participated with the principal personalities that developed this into a national level. It wouldn't have been this successful if it was top-down. A lot of policies are made. We will speak grammars in the comfort of the air conditions. And at the end of the day, the people who are involved does not have their ideas being incorporated. And by the time they want to implement, government want to implement, they come to hitches here and there. That is when they will now know, oh, these issues are there on ground.
Finance Minister and Coordinating Minister for the Economy, Wale Edun, has supported the federal government's decision to embrace Islamic finance as an alternative economic model. Edun highlighted the pressing need to move away from elevated high levels of interest-based financing stating that global financial dynamics can no longer sustain such practices. Speaking at a program organized by the Security Exchange Commission and the Islamic Financial Services Board, Edwin pointed out that both man-made and natural shocks have driven interest rates to unsustainable heights, adding that the elevated rates have become a significant constraint on development, particularly due to the soaring cost of borrowing. The federal government says it has appointed 46 new directors of 4 agencies under the Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development. This is coming a week after the federal government sacked chief executives of aviation agencies, followed by directors in the ministry. A statement from the ministry said, in line with the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Honorable Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, has released the list of newly appointed directors of the agencies under the ministry. Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has granted an administrative bail to a former Minister of Power and Steel, Oluwagunloye, who was arrested and detained over an alleged fraud of 6 billion naira in the Mambila Power Project. The spokesman for the EFCC, Dele Oyewale, confirmed the ex-minister's release, while the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission granted an administrative bail to a former Minister of Power and Steel, Oluwagunloye, who was arrested and detained for an alleged fraud of 6 billion naira in the Mambila Power Project. House of Representatives is calling for the adoption of the Chinese yuan as an official foreign exchange reserve currency with other internationally recognized currencies to protect the naira from further depreciation. The resolution was sequel to the adoption of a motion moved by a member representing Ogoro Das the Fama Balewa Federal Constituency, Bauchi State, Jafaru Leko, at a plenary session, adding that the Nigerian economy was experiencing substantial shifts in the value of naira, prompting economic instability and uncertainty. He also said the International Monetary Fund proposed diversification of foreign exchange reserves for the Central Bank of Developing Countries, including Nigeria, while the global economic landscape was evolving and international trade dynamics were shifting, with China assuming a leading role in international trade. The lawmaker observed that the People's Republic of China had a stable and globally recognized currency, the Chinese yuan, which was gaining recognition across the globe. You are still watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. Now to international tidbits. Africa's first female billionaire and daughter of ex-Angolan President Isabel dos Santos loses bid to prevent £580 million of her assets from being frozen. Africa's first female billionaire and the daughter of a former Angolan President Isabel dos Santos has today lost her bid to prevent up to £580 million of her assets from being frozen. Isabel is being sued by telecom operators Unitel SA, a company she founded during her father's, Jose Eduardo dos Santos' 38 years-long reign as president, which came to an end in 2017, and the businesswoman has faced corruption accusations in the southwestern African nation for years, but previously told London's High Court she is a victim of a campaign of oppression by Angola. She denies the allegations and says she is the target of a long-running political vendetta, which has seen her assets frozen or seized in Angola and Portugal, while Unitel asked the High Court to grant a worldwide freezing order over dos Santos' assets at a hearing last month, and today Judge Robert Bright granted the order. In a written ruling, the judge told dos Santos the other freezing orders means that it's not just and convenient for this court to grant a further order, adding that the businesswoman owns a £21 million house in St. Mary's Place, close to Albert Hall, which is listed online as the most expensive house in South Kensington, and she is accused of taking out hundreds of millions of pounds worth of loans from Unitel through another company she owns, which were never repaid. Oklahoma judge has acquitted a man who spent nearly 50 years in prison for a 1974 murder, marking the longest wrongful sentence served in the U.S. Glenn Simmons, age 70, regained his freedom in July after a judge sanctioned a new trial that insufficient evidence existed to justify a retrial. In a recent ruling, Oklahoma County District Judge Amy Palumbo officially declared Mr. Simmons as innocent after serving 48 years, 1 month, and 18 days in prison for the murder of Caroline Sue Rogers during a liquor store robbery in an Oklahoma City suburb. Mr. Simmons emerges as the longest-serving inmate in the National Registry of Exonerations. And now to entertainment. Nigerian singer Augustine Kelechi, popularly known as Tekno, says he is selfish because he loves himself so much. According to him, it is his priority in life to enjoy himself. Tekno says, "My name is Kelechi Augustine. I am an indigene of Ebonyi State. I am from Ivo local government." And now to sports news. Aqua United management has accepted the resignation of head coach Fatai Osho, chairman of the club, Paul Bassi, said replacing the former coach would not be easy and expressed appreciation to coaches who are willing to take over the vacant post. Aqua United recorded just 3 wins in 14 games under his tutelage, and Promise Keepers currently occupy 17th position on the log. The Uyo club will host Sunshine Stars in the Nigeria Premier Football League Matchday 15 encounter in Eket today. Liverpool boss Jurgen Klopp says West Ham United's Jarrod Bowen is his favorite player outside of his own Reds team. Klopp spoke just before Liverpool's Carabao Cup quarter-final 5-1 victory over West Ham United, while Bowen was linked as a potential replacement for Liverpool's Mohamed Salah. A few months ago, the 26-year-old, who scored the only goal for West Ham against Liverpool, has been in fine form for the Hammers. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, another look at the major stories. Federal government says Potaka refinery starts operations. Governor Nwifuru approves 100,000 naira Christmas bonus for workers. Senate confirms 11 justices adjourns for Christmas. Smeden plans SMEs Academy. Angolan first female billionaire prevents assets from frozen. Singer Techno shares experience on selfishness.